Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at a custom knife. This is the Mini Skirmish from Neil Blackwood of Blackwood Custom Knives, I believe. But I just briefly wanted to thank everyone who took the time to respond to my last video where I asked for feedback on the channel. I am going to do a specific video in response to that. I just want to go ahead and say thank you to anyone who sees this video before the response video, so that should be coming soon. But we're going to be taking a look at this Mini Skirmish here. Really interesting knife. Typically before I do videos on knives, I like to get in contact with the maker. If it is a custom knife, just to get my facts in order, make sure that I'm portraying correct information in my videos. However, I was unable to get in touch with Mr. Blackwood. Prior to this video, I tried a number of times, but it just simply didn't work out, so I will not have all the details on this knife, but I did want to talk about it because it is a very interesting knife for my collection, and the way that it came into my collection would explain that, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Let me start off with the specs that I can talk about on this Mini Skirmish here. So again, custom knife, completely handmade as far as I've heard. There is the Blackwood logo right there, tastefully done. But blade length of 3.5 inches, handle length of about 4.6, so you know, a good size knife there, not too small, not too big. The handle thickness is about 0.45 inches, and then it does weigh in at 6 ounces, so those are the specs for the most part. Really interesting, really beautiful knife, but let's get into it. So that's pretty much all that I can tell you as far as the specs go. No idea what the blade steel is. If I had to guess, probably CPM 54 S35 VN. Those would be my educated guesses. Obviously a titanium frame lock flipper, but yeah. So let me wipe off the blade real quick. This is a satin hand rubbed satin on the flats and so forth. But you know, right off the bat, you'll notice that it is a chisel grind or a chisel ground blade. So this side is completely flat, and then this side has been ground as you would expect, and it comes down to actually a really nice edge. Up to this point, I've been somewhat skeptical of chisel ground blades. I just didn't really see the value in them, and this one has kind of changed my opinion a bit. It's not, in terms of like performance, I haven't noticed that it does anything different necessarily, but with a hand rub satin, I also have not done anything taxing on this blade because this is not a finish that I want to scratch up at all. So let me briefly talk about how this one came into my collection. I had a knife for sale up on the USN, and I typically don't do trades with my knives that I have up for sale because I have very specific purchases that I would like to accomplish, which is why knives usually go up for sale. But a member there contacted me and said, hey, I have this Skirmish that's up for sale. It's not really selling. I did want to try out the knife that you have for sale. Would you be interested? And by and large, I say no to trades, but I'm certainly familiar with the name Neil Blackwood. I've never tried any of his knives. He's been around for quite a long time. He's been making knives for a long time. Kind of one of the old school makers kind of out there that's still producing knives. So I thought, why the hell not? One of my, I guess, fellow collectors, perhaps a bit more into customs than even I am, my French friend TZVY, you can look at his YouTube channel, but he has spoken quite highly of Blackwood, and so when the trade came across, I said, hey, or I thought to myself, I might as well give it a try, see if I'm missing anything, see what's going on, and to be honest, I'm quite glad that I did, because this is something that I would not have actively pursued on my own. Not to say that I dislike his designs or his knives, it just wasn't quite on my radar as something that I should be purchasing in the near future or perhaps at all. But really interesting knife, just an insane amount of detail. There's certainly years of experience in the finish, in the way that it's executed. This is actually on Teflon washers, and apparently Mr. Blackwood makes his own Teflon washers. And yeah, if you think about the fact that he's been making knives and doing Teflon washers for a long time, at one point his action, I mean, here's the thing. Let me backtrack a bit. I didn't know that Teflon washers could be this smooth, and it came as a really interesting surprise to me. So while this may not have the fluidity of, maybe a ball bearing system, it's actually quite close. I mean, you can flip the knife if you're wanting to do it. If you want to half-ass it, you can do that as well. So yeah, really interesting. I didn't know Teflon washers could be this smooth, so that was a really interesting surprise. So if you think back, if he's been making knives for, let's say, I'm gonna ballpark because I really have no idea, like maybe 20 years, predating the ball bearing craze or trend or innovation, perhaps we could call it. This is a very, very smooth knife. So not quite ball bearing smooth, but exceptionally smooth. So yeah. So let's go back to the blade here. As I showed you, his maker's mark is right there. Very tastefully done, not obtrusive, but still there. And then this is a hand rub satin on the flats, and then a very, very fine, I believe, belt satin possibly here on the actual grinds. So beautiful edge, almost has a polished finish, but very sharp, very cool blade shape. Just really interesting. So that's the blade for the most part. Here's the flipper tab. Certainly an artistic element to the knife. Not the most comfortable to flip on. I think if this were to be maybe kind of cut at like a 45-degree angle, you'd be able to generate more push-down force and result in a better flip and a more comfortable flip. But aesthetically, stylistically, I mean, that is it's beautiful. Just, I don't know, it ties in with the lines quite well, acts as kind of a forward guard, just has almost a delicate feel to the flipper tab, so that works well. So I'm gonna keep wiping this thing off. All right, now we come to the I guess the handles or the frames here. Actually, let's take a look at the pivot. Pretty cool. It's kind of like a bronze color, ties in. But apparently someone mentioned on one of my pictures that this is called the re-entry finish. And it is maybe like a sandblast type finish or an eggshell type finish that has been anodized. And the interesting thing about this anodizing is that the fingerprints don't seem to distort the color. And I was watching a video from, maybe it was Johnson Knives. He's someone who does a lot of modding work, and he said if you anodize the knife correctly, fingerprints shouldn't really be a problem, but he said it's about the technique and the experience. So I've never had a knife that held true, but on this one, I can touch it, I can get my hands, sweaty hands, all over it, and it doesn't seem to distort the color, which is quite interesting for me. So, but beautiful finish, beautiful colors. Hopefully the camera's picking up all the detail here, but again, just a really interesting knife. This isn't something that I would have picked up of my own accord, especially with the, chisel ground, hand rub satin type of blade. I typically like more of kind of the dark, stone washed, acid washed, things that I can use without worry. So really interesting, slightly raised back spacer. I don't know, kind of like a dragon spine type of thing, if I had to call it something. But it does seem to actually aid in the grip a tiny bit because it protrudes. Pocket clip is gorgeous. I think it matches kind of the overall shape of the knife. That's something that Neil Blackwood is very much known for. Sometimes the pocket clip will essentially be a smaller version line-wise of the entire knife or of the blade, but really beautiful. Again, has almost a delicate type of feel to it, or look to it, I should say. Functionally, it works quite well. The tip here might be a tiny bit sharp. I mean, not sharp, just a little bit pokey. I guess pokey is the good word to use. Beautiful lock bar cutout. And then the pocket clip is on these kind of bronze and blue standoffs here. See if I can get a better... Yeah, hopefully you guys can see that. So, again, really nice touch. And then if you guys can see this nice cutout right here, when it's in the pocket and you go to grab it, this actually locks your finger in really well. So, easy to get in and out of the pocket. But, yeah, what an absolute surprise. And the thing that I've really enjoyed about this knife, you know, I don't know that I'll keep it forever. Trying to do reviews, I go through a lot of knives. I've actually kept a list of how many knives I've gone through over the last 3 years, and the list is becoming somewhat embarrassing, or it's quite staggering, I should say. But, you know, I don't know if I'll keep this forever, but, you know, if you're an enthusiast about knives, sometimes it's not about owning the knife, but it's rather about the experience of the knife, you know. You look at, you know, maybe you're watching this video and you're thinking, you know, I wonder what that would be like to have for a day, to carry, to feel, to, you know, touch, to look over, to try the action. And, you know, that really is kind of one of the fun things about the hobby. It's not that you have to own everything and that you have to keep everything, but sometimes it's just that the experience is really enjoyable. Even if the knife, let's say it's not for you, it's not your normal... in your wheelhouse, let's say, sometimes just experiencing it is really an immense pleasure. At one of our local Utah gatherings, there was a father and son, and they're both very, very prolific collectors, and they brought Seiberts, Rexfords, Hortons. I mean, they had a collection that rivaled some of the best in the country, and you know, I got to handle some of the hot hammered Rexfords. And knives that were full Damascus or Mokume. I mean, really exceptional pieces, and it was an absolute joy just to experience them. You know, I didn't feel like, hey, I need to own these, or I'm going to sell my entire collection to get into just maybe like one of these knives. It's, yeah, so, you know, hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about, but that's something that I've really enjoyed about having this one, and really glad that I went through with the trade simply to experience the work. So, as far as Mr. Blackwood, he doesn't have the best reputation as far as customer service or meeting deadlines, you know, and sad, but that's kind of his reputation in the industry. But getting one of these on the second hand that's already finished and that's ready to go, you know, I would recommend trying it. You know, if someone has one, it's in good condition, doesn't need to go back to the maker. I think it's a really fun experience to try one of his knives, especially, again, one of these old school makers on Teflon washers. Apparently he's very much anti-bearing, but again, I didn't talk to him, so I can't give you guys a for sure on that. Tolerances are very, very tight. That hollow, the chisel grind here with that deep kind of hollow grind. Yeah, with the deep hollow grind. It almost makes it look like it's rubbing. And when I posted pictures, people thought it was. But, I mean, you can get like maybe a piece of paper too in between. The tolerances are super tight, but it has not rubbed at all. And I've been flipping it a lot. Yeah, really interesting. So, just an absolutely beautiful piece. He did say, Mr. Blackwood did mention on one of my Instagram pictures that he does not typically do hand rub finishes, and he does not typically do chisel grinds, yet this knife actually contains both. So it's, as far as his knives go, it's a rather rare bird, I guess we could say. So anyways, guys, hopefully this video kind of gave you an idea of what it would be like to experience this knife. You know, ergonomics, really good. Jimping definitely has some usefulness to it here. But yeah, really cool knife. So again, I don't know if I'll keep it how long I'll keep it or what I'll do with it, but you know, this one was just really about the experience of being able to handle and try it. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully this again gave you somewhat of an experience or kind of a guess of what it would be like to kind of sharing with this. So thanks so much for watching. Again, thanks you to everyone who commented on my video requesting feedback. And I should have a video up soon kind of in response to that. But if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also follow me on Instagram, same username, Epic Snuggle Bunny. And we should be getting up and running with more podcasts soon on the Modern Neanderthal. So links are in my About Me page. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day and take care.